Right, whenever you are ready.
Okay. The Strive for Change in Education by Brianna, Jackson, Kaylin, and Mallory.
The problem that we have come up with in our presentation is the Taliban and leadership of Pakistan and their fight against women's education. Pakistan is in need of a solution because they offer limited to no rights for women, they have no education for women, and schools of women and children are often attacked because of cultural reasons. An attack occurred in which 6 teachers were killed among 145 people, along with 132 school children. And this was stated by Salman Masood, a reporter for New York Times and a well-known editor for New York Times. They were the author of 6 teachers among 8 killed in a pair of Pakistan attacks.
Another example of an instance where the Taliban has attacked women is the famous story of Malala Yousafzai, featured in I Am Malala. Malala Yousafzai is a young women's education advocate. The story takes place in 2012 whenever Malala was shot in the head after coming home from school after campaigning for women's education. Malala didn't let being shot stop her though. She was determined in fighting for women's education. Malala Yousafzai and Christina Lamb writes, quote, "Peace in every home, every street, every village, every country, this is my dream. Education for every boy and every girl in the world. To sit down on a chair and read my books with all my friends at school is my right. To see each and every human being with a smile of happiness is my wish."
To elaborate on the problem of leadership in Pakistan is important because it restricts rights of women and children, especially in education. Leadership within a country is what runs the country. If there's not good leadership, the country will fail. Pakistan has struggled with their leadership in government for a long time. Throughout history, it affects everyone in the country and really affects women in their education in a negative way. Pakistan's government needs to be reinforced and leaders need to be changed in order to better the people and the environment in Pakistan for women's education.
After September 2021 ban on high school education, the Taliban also barred women from attending universities at the end of last year. The Taliban has implemented over 20 written decrees against women, including bans on co-education, secondary education, and bans on majors like journalism, law, agriculture, veterinary science, and economics. This is credibly stated by Bilquis Altamad in the article, "Taking a Terrible Toll, the Taliban's Educational Ban."
Our first solution we have come up with is to introduce a stronger effort in the military or a change in the leadership of the government of Pakistan. A change in the leadership or an effort to change the military would offer new perspectives of women's education and women's rights, and it would balance the power that the Taliban has and the influence that the Taliban has over the people today. We would need to find a group that serves the people rather than the government, politics, or money. We would need to find a group of people or a leader that would not serve for power or for fame or riches, but rather for the rights of the women.
Of course, with any possible solution, there's going to be several pros and cons. But starting with pros, a pro of enforcing a stronger power is the power of the Taliban can then be balanced out. And another pro is if the government were to support a certain thing, the people would be more likely to follow their decision. And next is cons. A con of the solution is funding might be an issue. Are citizens willing to pay higher taxes in order to support their government? And another con is that the government might end up having too much power, which creates a whole other problem similar to the current issue of the Taliban. A limitation of implementing this solution is funding the government. A majority of the population probably isn't going to be willing to pay more taxes, even though it would be going to a good cause, and that creates an obstacle blocking the change.
To send the solution into effect, we need, as stated earlier, the right people. We need the right leaders in the schools and within the government that will not only target women's education, but children's education and their safety while in school. This would affect people by giving out better opportunities, that would enhance their freedom, and it would push the need for more education. People have undertaken important national initiatives, but there's still a long way to go. And this is stated by the Journal of Pakistan Vision in the article, "Challenges for Women Empowerment in Pakistan."
And although there are many pros and cons and limitations, these are just the main ones. The pros are able to outweigh the cons because our main focus of our solution is to take away the current amount of power the Taliban has throughout Pakistan. Also, a change in power creates a new perspective and environment no one has seen before.
For our second solution, we will work to create girls-only schools with a strong security so that the girls can get the education that they deserve and still be safe from the Taliban. To do this, we will raise funds for schooling and raise funds for people to come in and protect the girls while they are getting their educations.
Some things that we can do for strong security is limited access entryways to the school, make sure there's security staff and things like cameras, have inside and outside school monitored. You can have logs only members of school can access, and in order for this, you need to get a community in on security to bring citizens together and have the best security possible. For fundings, in order to create schools, you have to have money in order to do it. Funding is a very important part of creating and enhancing school systems. Without money, schools cannot be created or built. The resources cannot be accessed to create a school without funds. To create a good environment. Investors, fundings, increases in taxes, government and community fundings, crowdfundings, grants from small businesses, and loans are always to get funding to create schools.
Some of our pros would be the girls would gain an education and they would be able to get it safely.
Pros include girls be able to access an education. This is important because it would better women. Education would give women a chance to succeed in life and find happiness outside of stereotypical jobs like cooking and cleaning. Schools would not be secure, or schools would be secure, so violence wouldn't have to be questioned. This is very important because nobody can learn in an environment they feel unsafe in.
Our cons would be getting support from the people in Pakistan and raising money to build the schools and get the security that they need. And also it would be previous attacks that the Taliban has gave to the school, because some people might not want to give their money or their time to help because they think that the Taliban might ruin it again.
Yeah, the support is a big part of any, like, being able to get the money needed for it, because in Pakistan, if nobody supports it other than women, then it won't happen. In order for the solution to work and for schooling for women to work, there actually needs to be security. This includes needs for funds, which can be difficult to get because of the amount of support in Pakistan throughout its citizens. Girls would have to worry about getting attacked because of history and previous attacks. This could have a lot of impact on their learning environment and how well they focus in school.
So for our implication of the second solution, we have our pros and cons that we just read. What would happen if it was implemented, and what holds us back from implementing it?
So if this solution was implemented, it would give women a great opportunity to grow and prove their country wrong. It would give great empowerment for women and would change the country, giving it more motivation. Pakistan would grow as a whole, and employment would increase because of females working as much as the males. And then holding us back from implementing the solution could include the country of Pakistan would have to come together as a whole in order for it to work and in order for it to better the country. The violence between the Taliban and Pakistan greatly affects the ability for them to become united and come together as a country. The inequality is also a big problem. It will have to be overcome. Pakistan as a whole will have to give women a chance to succeed. The government is another very big issue because it is corrupt. It needs to be reinforced. And they already have like their morals and how they live, so it would be hard to change.
A quote is, "He believed that lack of education was the root of all of Pakistan's problems. Ignorance allowed politicians to fool people and bad administrators to be reelected." And this is found on page 41 of I'm Malala, which is a book about a girl who is an activist for women's education in Pakistan and had a first-hand experience when she was shot by the Taliban.
In conclusion, women's education in Pakistan is very important, and the Taliban should not be able to affect it. Schools for girls should be safe and secure, and it would help them grow a lot as a country. And to get those schools, we need a change in leadership or a change in the military effect to stop the Taliban from ruining these new schools or keeping people from funding the new schools. And the increase of women's schools would offer for more jobs and more opportunities in the country itself.
The change is possible as long as you have the right people supporting it and being overall a part of it.
All right. All right, let's answer a couple of questions. Mallory, what is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided to exclude from the team presentation and why?
I think that one we chose to exclude was from Brianna's about culturally, like, a lot of people think that women should be lower, which is true that they believe that, but it's not so much a problem as the Taliban is like attacking the women in schools.
Okay. Jackson, describe an argument from one of your peers' individual reports that made you think differently about the team's solution or conclusion.
One argument was from Brianna's essay, and it talked about the cultural growing up of women. It was not only were they treated wrong as they tried to get into education, but as they grew up, they were treated as the lesser. They were treated as not as good as men. They were a disgrace or a disappointment, and that was a big moral of the Taliban, and the Taliban was one of our biggest attackers on women's schools.
All right. Kaylin, if you had another team member, what other perspective or limitations, because they have researched, that would have made a useful contribution to the project?
I believe economic would be a really good one, because a big part of it is being able to get money put in and from the economy helping out, and we wouldn't be able to do like either of them without having funds from others. So I think it would be important to know more about the economy and how you can make it better in order to produce more schooling and a better military.
Okay. And Brianna, how did the group decide to include Mallory's perspective, lens, or conclusion into the overall presentation?
So we decided to include Mallory's arguments because she wrote her paper through a historical lens. So we used some statistics from history in her paper, but we tried to keep it within like a 20-year time frame instead of going back like 50 or so years, because most of the recent attacks from the Taliban have been within the last 20 years, so we just tried to stick within that time frame.
All right. Thank you all very much.